Hello everyone, I am Madhumika Bhattacharya and today we are going to discuss managerial economics and its relatedness with focus on resource allocation and demand analysis. Managerial economics as a field of study is associated with some other fields of study and it has an integrated approach. For example, it is related with sales and marketing since it helps in demand forecasting and pricing strategies. It is also related with operation research. This field is used in managerial economics to find out the best of all possibilities through linear programming, machine scheduling, game theory, etc. It is also related with statistics. Statistics which helps in empirical testing of theory. On the basis of this, better decisions are made relating to demand and cost functions, production, sales, or distribution. It helps accounting abilities also in terms of profit maximization and resource allocation for an organization. We all know that managerial economics essentially deals with the problem of scarcity, which is leading to the problem of choice. One of the major problems, that is scarcity of resources, which is leading to problem of choice, where due to our constrained resources, we constantly need to prioritize our wants, whether we accept option 1 and let go option 2. Here comes the concept of opportunity cost. Opportunity cost, which is the value of sacrificing the next best alternative option. How do we calculate opportunity cost? It is the ratio of what you sacrifice by the ratio of what you gain. Down the line, for business purposes and for economic purposes, we need to often calculate MOC, or the marginal opportunity cost, which is del y by del x, that is the change in quantity of y due to change in quantity of x. Now let me tell you a story. Let's say, for example, there's a chartered accountant. He can join as a chartered accountant, he can join his own firm, he can be a partner or owner of his own firm, or he can join in someone else's company as an employee. Supposedly, if he runs his own business, he has to sacrifice the salary he could have otherwise earned if he would have joined in another company. On the other hand, if he had joined the company, then he would have to sacrifice the amount or the share of profit he would have enjoyed being the partner or owner of the firm. So in each of these cases, he has to sacrifice one of the options. In our daily and everyday life, we always constantly, while prioritizing our wants, we are making a choice. An informed choice is always a better option in the long run, and to understand which option is more profitable to us. Since we are talking about the problem of choice, the compulsion to make a choice because of constrained or restrained resources, because of limited resources, the concept of PPC or production possibility curve comes into picture. It is a two-good economy model where it shows a trade-off between allocation of resources for production of two goods. It is used to illustrate the concept of scarcity, opportunity cost, efficiency and inefficiency of the factors of production, economic growth, and contractions. From this given graph, we can understand how does a PPC or PPF, also known as production possibility frontier, looks like. It is quite evident that we can see that it is a downward sloping curve, which is also concave to its origin. The nature of the downward slope of the curve can be explained by the inverse relationship between good X and good Y. That means, if in order to increase the production of good X, we always have to reduce the production of good Y and vice versa. On the other hand, the nature of the curve, while it is concave to the origin, can be explained by the fact of the increasing rate of MOC, that is marginal opportunity cost, or that of MRT, that is marginal rate of transformation, which means for every additional production of one good, more and more units of the other goods need to be sacrificed. Here are two further graphical presentations. The first one on our left side, it shows different points which is labeled as B, C, F, E, D, and A. We will consider few points from here. Let us first take the point C or D on the curve itself. What does these 2 points signify? Let us talk about point C. Now, any point on this point C signifies that the resources are optimally utilized over here. None of the resources has remained unutilized. Okay, so it is a full utilization of the resources which is there in the hand of the producer. Now, if we consider any point below the curve, let's say talk about point E, which means a point of underutilization, where the resources are underutilized and the producer has still scope to increase his level of production. Now let us talk about point F, which lies above the curve. Right at this moment, this point F, we will call it a point of unattainability, a point which cannot be attainable right at the moment with our given resources. Now, if the producer can increase his level of resources, then we can see a rightward shift of the PPC, which will show a higher level of production. Contrarily, if the level of resources needs to be decreased due to some diseconomies, we will see a leftward shift of the PPC, which will signify that the level of production has decreased. So any point below the given curve will show a kind of a diseconomic situation, and any point above, that is the rightward shift of the curve, show that the resources have been increased and hence the level of production. On the right side, we can see that there are two different graphs are shown. Here we are considering that in case when there are technological advancement or is there any improvement in the methods of production, we generally see that which is reflected in the increased level of output or increased level of production. So in the first case, we can see that due to the improvement in technology of good X, production of X has increased, and how the PPC has rotated from AQ to AQ1 point. We can see a right shift. In the other figure, we can see that there is an improvement in the technology of good Y, and hence the production of Y has increased, whereas the production of X has remained unchanged, and that is why the PPC has shifted from AQ to A1Q, once again a right shift, showing a larger production of the good Y. From the law of demand, one can draw a demand curve out of the demand schedule. Now this demand curve is a downward sloping curve which explains the inverse relationship between price of X and the quantity demanded of X in normal circumstances. There can be few exceptions to this law of demand, where we might as well see an upward sloping demand curve. Out of the exceptions, the two most prominent ones is one that of Giffen goods, as we see in the case of inferior goods, and the other one is known as Veblen goods, as we see in case of conspicuous consumption. What is elasticity of demand? Down the line, while understanding the demand, we have seen that along the demand curve, there could be various elasticities and it needs to be measured in quantitative terms. It is one of the essential tools for an organization which helps in demand forecasting and pricing strategies. The various types of demand elasticities can be classified into price elasticity, income elasticity, and cross elasticity. Price elasticity, through which we calculate the degree of response in change in quantity demanded due to the degree of response in change in price. While measuring income elasticity, one measures the degree of change in quantity demanded due to the degree of change in the income level of the consumer. While calculating cross elasticity, what is measured is the degree of change in the quantity demanded of X due to the degree of response in the change of the price of the good known as Y. Now these two types of goods, X and Y, are related goods. They either could be competitive goods like tea and coffee, or could be complementary goods like car and petrol. Now, what are the methods by which elasticity of demand can be measured? Primarily, two methods are largely followed. One is the point method of measuring elasticity, another is the arc method. Here, we have considered using a graph where the price elasticity of demand is measured through point method. As you can see from the graph that the middlemost point, which is depicted by E, is equals to 1. Let me first tell you, broadly speaking, elasticities can be classified into 5 major categories. E, or elasticity, where it is equal to 1, is known as unitarily elastic, where the change in quantity demanded is just equal to the change in the price level. Whereas there are 4 other options where ED equals to infinity, which means the good is perfectly elastic. For example, in case of luxury goods. The same example applies in case of where E is greater than 1, that is the case of elastic goods. The other 2 cases are E is less than 1, that is the case of inelastic goods, for example, necessary items, where we do not much curtail our amount of consumption even there is a fluctuation in price. And the other option is that of where E equals to 0, which is a case of perfect inelasticity. To tell you the truth, in real life, it is very difficult to find examples of perfectly inelastic goods and perfectly inelastic goods. Next, we come to the demand forecasting techniques. Now, demand forecasting is basically a technique to estimate the demand for future and equip the organization to meet the future demand of a product. There are 2 ways or approaches by which demand forecasting can be done. One is the qualitative approach, another is known as the quantitative approach. Under qualitative approach, one can go for surveying, sampling methods, opinion or expert methods. Under the quantitative approach, one can follow the time series analysis, for example, least square method, the barometric analysis, the econometric methods, which includes correlation, regression, etc., smoothing techniques like exponential series. The demand forecasting techniques has its own importance. Let's say, for example, in cases of price control, in cases of formulating the competitive strategies like cost leadership, differentiation of products, as we can all see in various real-life situations. Hope you have enjoyed the video. Keep watching and keep exploring. Thank you so much.